Hey everybody! So I'm out in the shop working on some vintage stuff, kind of my thing to do. Helps relax me a little bit. And I told somebody I was going to film a bunch of stuff about the KO radios and the Kraft radios. And they said, I said I got to clean my bench, boys. My bench is a disaster. And they're like, no man, leave the bench junky. It's kind of fun to look around, you know, right? So like, here's what's on the side of me there. Check out over there before we start talking about the radios. I'm working. Anyway, what got me, everybody knows when cars came out, right? We talk about when cars came out and, you know, this car came out in 75 and this car came out in 85 or whatever it was. Anyway, I was talking to Kent Clausen and I wanted to get a better feel for the transmitters of the era. And Kent said that he actually won the 82 Worlds with this style of transmitter, which was the brown box, which guys modified with the slot car controller on the back, right? So it became a pistol grip radio. You see what I'm saying there? Anyway, and that race, the Worlds, the 1982 Worlds, he said was the last time he ran that radio. He said after that, they went from the brown box Futabas to the Kraft radios, or the KO radios. Kent was of the impression he was running a white wheel when he converted. And so he started running standard pistol grip radios with the white transmitter wheel. I saw a picture of Joel Johnson running in Japan, and Joel was running the original Kraft, and the original Kraft with the black wheel. Now, what's neat about the original Kraft, and I'll show you here. See this? This radio came on 27 megahertz. Probably also came on 29 megahertz. Probably came on 40. Probably came on 75 megahertz. But the module, it's not replaceable. Now, if you check out the ones that came after that, all had a replaceable module on them. See that? You can pop that module off of there, like that. And this one, hey, what's going on there? Shenanigans, that's what's going on there. Doing it with this one hand here. So we'll pop that back over here. Anyway, the shenanigans part of it is guys would show up with like a 27 megahertz radio, or what looked like a 27 megahertz radio. It would actually be 40 megahertz. You know what I'm trying to say? Because, you know, back in the day, a guy would put, at a bigger race, what would happen is they'd put up the heat for the main, and everybody's frequencies would be on it, and they'd have to pencil them off and scratch them off of there. And that's so nobody would come in there and leave a radio on and cause some interference and interfere with the race, right? So anyway, the point of all that is I'm trying to get a feel for radios, right? So according to Kent, the brown box radio he ran and won a Worlds with, modified with the slot car controller on it back in up to 1982, and then he went to this style of radio, right, with the white, and then the picture of Joel from '84 in Japan. Joel's running the black. Now, what I'm curious about is Kraft radios, which is what that one is, became KO radios. But there's not a lot of discussion about it. Dude's name was Phil Kraft, the guy that was into Kraft radios. And dude, he was running those things and building Kraft with some other dude, I can't think of the guy's name, in the 60s. And back then, if you wanted to sell transmitters, you had to come in line and you had to hire people that won and went to big airplane shows. I don't know. I don't follow those. I don't know what those guys do. Woo, excuse me. Anyway, Phil was in charge of Kraft. And I get the opinion from reading some of the Wikipedia articles that Kraft kind of, they kind of felt by the time radios went plastic like this is metal, right? By the time radios went plastic was around 80, 82. So this radio came out 80, 82, somewhere in that area. And then the KO versions came out shortly thereafter. But you never hear anybody talking about how Kraft became KO transmitters. And that's the part that always interests me. Anyway, that's what I just wanted to talk about here. See right there? You got your Kraft. Then you went over to here. Bam, bam. And then they developed like this shiny wheel. Like this is one of my old transmitters from back in the day. And man, these were just good radios. You know what I mean? It didn't take I got little girl hands, you know what I'm trying to say? And man, my hands fit this real nice. And what's cool about these old transmitters is they just go and go and go and go. And to prove that point, I set this situation up here. Check this out. I just put batteries in this transmitter. This transmitter is 40 years old. And here we go. Check this out. Look at that. 40 years old! How cool is that? All right, so I went and found myself a car. This is an old 235 Composite Craft Predator. It's a Gen 2. For those that don't know the difference between Gen 1 and Gen 2, you see the pod here? Actually, I'm sorry, this is Gen 1. Gen 2 had separate pod plates. The first Gen cars had a one-piece pod. So this is a Gen 1 Predator. Year, I don't know, mid-80s, early 80s to mid-80s. And so what I did here is I just found a random Hero battery pack, hooked it up to this car. They're both on 27 megahertz. This radio is on 27.195. The car is on 27.195. And I didn't set this up for weeks in advance. I did set it up because I'm filming and shooting with one hand here. But check this out. So the transmitter's on. We'll flip the car on here. And I'm here to tell you, how cool is that? Yep. Woo! 40 years old. That's just fascinating to me. 40. One of the original Kraft radios. Dude, look at him go. Burp, burp, burr, wham, bam. I don't know. It's just fascinating to me. Look at that. I'm going to get this car restored here probably directly. Anyway, I just wanted to show everybody. And if you've got some opinions on when Kraft became KO, you know, that doesn't seem to be a very big discussion. And I think everybody knows when the cars came out, and it's easy to find information on the cars, but it's never interesting, or I'm sorry, it's always interesting. It's never information that you find when people discuss transmitter timelines. You know, it gets a little sketchier as it moves through the 70s, and we go from the brown box radios, working our way into the 80s, and we start working with the pistol grip transmitters. And some of this gets lost, particularly like KO. You know, it wasn't as popular as Futaba was, and, you know, Futaba came in and just dominated. And if you got some information, you know, leave a comment down below there, and let's figure this out. Because I'm half curious. I want to know when Kraft became KO. I mean, that kind of fascinates me. So anyway, there you go. There's a quick blast into the past. And get on the shop and work on your junk. You know what I'm trying to say? All right.